Hello, God, that went quick. Sorry, I was busy sharing. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to another week of the Simply Spooky Show on the Things Network. This week, we are talking about astral projection. So I want to welcome Nettie, William, and Josh.
Hey.
Nettie is Shadows and Lights, William is Mythical Insights, and Josh is Down Rabbit Holes and In the Dark Mirror. That's right, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah. Lost to the rabbit hole.
Oh, sorry. I'm shoving you down that rabbit hole. Just get in there.
I'm super excited. I've got a shirt. It's just the Trumer with Freddy Cougar on it.
Oh, wow.
Thought I'd fit today's episode.
I didn't dress up at all. It was just like too bloody hot here.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to welcome everybody in the chat. Come in and say hello to us. Nigel's popped in to say hello. Hello, Nigel. Nice to see you. And Mr. Bright Dauber. And Mr. York himself. Hope you're feeling well and you're recovering well and everything's going good for you, Mr. York. He's the boss man, actually, so we've got to behave ourselves when he's on.
Yeah.
Then we're in trouble.
What are you saying?
Well,
You're
I
always
don't know
here.
the other two well enough to say for sure about them. But you and I, Vivian, we're in trouble.
Oh. Hello, Eric. Hello, Mr. Smith. And the gorgeous Sarah Louise. Rita's in the house.
Oh, good.
You're going to regret that, Jeremy. So tonight, right, so we might go down rabbit holes. We may not. It just depends where the conversation leads. But we're talking about astral projection. Nettie, have you had any thoughts or what do you know about astral projection? We'll talk about it and see where we go.
Well, I always think you've got like out of body experiences and like astral projection. I think it's basically the same thing because you're still leaving and seeing what's outside.
Yeah.
So they say that they're all different, but I don't think they are. I think it's the same experience.
Do you know, it's interesting you say that. Go on, Josh.
I was going to say, I think there's just different levels to it. I think you can get really good at it and you can do all sorts of things. It's about using the parts of your mind that most people don't.
Yeah.
What do you think, William?
Well, I do it in different ways. And I remember the first time when I was a kid, I was early grade school, I had this kind of dream or this thinking often that my life was the dream of somebody halfway across the world and his life was mine, because I'd be up in the corner of my bedroom ceiling watching myself sleep. And, 20 years later, figured out what that was about. But I've participated in some experiments where you look at the experiment going on, you describe the house, you describe all these things, and have been quite good at it. Sometimes the experiment I'll get wrong. I remember one time it was one they'd done a month before I knew nothing about. So I just got the wrong time period. But I think you're right. I think it's all under astral projection. I bring things to me, though, more, because a lot of times I'll read the spiritual energy or who the entities in the house or a location from home or on the way to it or whatever. And it's not quite the same as being there. But it's like I bring it to myself. I say I'm just a lazy astral projector. It's easier to, get the vision here than me to actually go there. And
Yeah.
I've got friends, we talk. I've got one of my friends in England. He'll say, "Oh, who's so and so?" and it's hanging out at my house, and I'll tell him, "Tell the butcher hi," that kind of stuff.
In
So
my research, I've found quite a few websites and even mediums that do it, that say that astral projection and out of body experiences are two different things. So they're saying that the astral projection is something that you put yourself into, and you're physically going out visiting or giving healing and doing whatever. But an OBE, as they're calling it, they're saying, let me read this to you. It says, as stated, an OBE and astral projection are similar but not the same. As the letter is intentional, while it is hard to narrow down exactly how they feel, an OBE and an astral projection can feel like a feeling of outside your body, an altered perception of the world, the feeling that you're out of your body and looking down at yourself. Astral projection can be explained by delusion, hallucination, and vivid dreams, according to psychologist Donovan Rawcliffe in his book, The Psychology of the Occult. Well, it goes on and on and on. But I got the impression through this research that astral projection is something you can control, where an out-of-body experience is something you can't. Does that make sense?
it's
Yeah,
interesting.
I also wanted to ask, are we counting remote viewing as astral projection too?
I think it is, isn't it? It's paramount the same. What do you think, Nitty?
Because that's actually closer to what I do than I think. Yeah, but it feels like astral projection.
Mhm.
What do you
I
think,
don't know
Nitty?
with remote viewing though, because that's, mind you, it's the same thing. You're not actually leaving to see though, are you? Or are you?
You're seeing it through the third eye with the remote
Yeah.
viewing.
Yeah, whereas an OBE, which I've one done myself once, you're actually sort of looking at yourself separate from.
But did you put yourself in that position where you wanted to be out of your body, or did
No,
it just
it
happen
was
without your control?
probably just something that happened. That wasn't, it wasn't intentional.
So that would have been an OBE rather
Yeah.
than an astral project.
Mhm.
Yeah, fascinating. That absolutely fascinating. I've tried to do it again after, but no.
Have you had that experience, Josh?
I have some really crazy, vivid dreams about some entities. Um, that's a whole show in itself.
Maybe we should get you on a show and
But
discuss it.
I do have certain friends that call me like a little brother who belong to certain fraternities who have helped me out with that. They're called the Rosicrucians Order.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if either of you are familiar. And they are very much into this. This is how they do their teachings with each other, is all through astral projection in the dream world.
Okay. We
Wow.
have or at least we did have one of their houses, one of their institutes here in Portland, and it seems fascinating. I don't know a lot about them, but they seem fascinating to me.
There's more around than everybody knows.
Right.
So I was just fiddling with my volume then to see if I can stop this.
I know, I've tried everything.
So astral projection, right? Let's go into this a bit more. Right. So this apparently how to perform astral projection. This is putting yourself in this position to be able to go and do it. Okay, so I'm going to read this out here. So guys, if you decide to do this on your own head, be it, we us four cannot take responsibility. Things Network cannot take responsibility, and neither can the Simply Spooky Network. So if you're going to try this at home, which I don't recommend unless you know what you're doing or you're a bit of a daredevil, then that's up to you. Okay, but what it says here, and this is according to Dr. I can't pronounce this name, Deganet Muir, who explains how to intentionally and safely practice astral projection. Now, she says, find a quiet, comfortable space, lie down and relax your body completely. Right? Number 2, clear your mind of distractions and focus on positive thoughts. Once relaxed, this is number 3, picture the astral cord extending from the 3rd chakra into the astral plane, the astral realm or world where the consciousness resides. This is getting deep now. Number 4, mentally affirm your intention to have an astral projection experience. Number 5, as you feel yourself getting lighter or experiencing sensations like floating, remain relaxed and aware. Number 6, so this is not going to sleep. You've got to do this when you're awake. Number 6, if successful, you may find yourself out of your body. Once you reach this other world, you're likely to experience a feeling of weightlessness and relief. This is why it's used to help release tension and heal unresolved traumas. Number 7, explore your surroundings calmly and with a curiosity. Remember, you're still connected to your physical body, so there's no need to worry about getting lost. Number 8, when you're ready to return, think about your physical body and gently guide your awareness back. And it says, if you have no previous experience with astral projection, we recommend researching it thoroughly and finding an expert in the field to help you guide you in the right direction. So what do you think about that, guys? I mean, like, they make it sound like it's something so simple, but I don't think it is.
No.
I think it's been around forever, though.
I think it has.
Oh, sorry.
No, I interrupted you. I'm sorry, Josh.
There's another order that comes to mind. I interviewed one. They're an offshoot of the Freemasons. They're called the Order of the Golden Dawn. And yes. I have a buddy who he calls himself a magic practitioner. He's a real cool guy, but he's really involved in this, and he has seen some wild stuff. He's seen some shadow beings, but the most wild thing he told me he saw was like these massive cells. And they seemed intelligent, but they were like, he was looking under a microscope, but they were way bigger than him.
Wow.
Now, could that have been like he was deeper inside the physical reality and he was seeing cells, but he was shrunk down basically into something that was smaller than the cell?
He believed he was seeing the building blocks of the universe.
Okay.
Okay, so my next question is, right, so Nettie's quite spiritual, I'm spiritual medium. I've tried to do this, and yes, I can put myself using thought forms and put myself in different places, but this is not astral projecting. I go into deep, major meditations, and then I can do trance mediumship. But I have never in all my years been able to deliberately astral project. why is it some people can do it and other people can't? Because I know some people beat themselves up because they can't do it. I don't bother me. But do you think that society make it, oh, well, I can astral project, so I'm important? You know, I know others don't, like your organisations that you mentioned, they do it because they can, and that's what they're about. But do you think, like in the mainstream, that people are talking about this more, this sort of...
I honestly think there's things deliberately out there to stop us from doing this. I mean, look at my country. They're feeding us poisons and everything. And I think that has a big effect on us. I think there's a lot of psyops going on, at least with America, that the average American doesn't realize.
I think you're right, and it's not just here; it's everywhere, and it comes out in the news every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, because it affects
And then
everything.
sorry. And then the news gets reminded that who they're owned by them people, and then that stories get cut.
They go away after a while, but you know, we get a lot of the news about different countries sending different kinds of fake information or lies. We hear about it back and forth, disinformation campaigns and all of that, and that's always been going on. I mean, read history, and ever since we've had language and warfare, but
it's called divide and conquer, isn't it? That's what it is.
Different levels.
Yeah. And William, you'll like this next bit that this Dr. Newer is saying. She says that the notion of astral projection is ancient. Many people from New Agers to shamans worldwide practice it from a self-care and spiritual healing. So she said the astral projection should be practiced carefully and intentionally, because when a traumatizing event confronts humans, they end up astrally projecting, losing a sense of control. So she says we can do it unconsciously when we're not feeling safe. The spirit leaves the body and projects elsewhere. When we're not practiced responsibly, you can lose a sense of authority and a sense over your own body, and it can be really disempowering.
I totally agree, and I agree with it being ancient. I was taught that by my buddy that if they was passed down to them from Amun Ra.
Right.
Okay. No. As we're talking, this is good because I'm finding out that a lot of nuances and things that made me realize, oh, wait a minute, I do things a little differently. It's not always the same label. But what I've always heard of some of the dangers associated with astral projection, including something attacking, the cord getting cut, you know, all kinds of things. I don't know how much of any of that would be a reality. I tend not to have much belief in nasty beings attacking. I haven't met any yet.
Yeah.
And I do kind of run all over the place.
Maybe it's just your energies, man. They just stay away from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So astral travel and science. While astral projection may be a physiological experience, there is no way to scientifically measure whether a person's spirit can leave and enter the body during sleep or meditation. So it's not just astral projection. I think it's right across the board. They cannot measure it. I think
you hear in Japan they can record dreams now?
They can record what part of the brain, I know, is active during dream states and what kinds of dreams, like the pleasure pain sensors that we can get from awakeness too. But can they actually tell?
That's what I heard. They can play back the dream to you, is what I heard. But I mean, that could just be, you know, how stuff through the grapevine goes. But you think they would be able to start following some of this stuff if that's a reality?
I don't know. I hadn't heard that before. I'd want to see more information about it from some good sources, but I know that, I mean, just medically, they can find parts of the brain that activate during different stages of sleep, and when we're dreaming and things like that, it's just part of the neurology they've been studying.
It
So
would
I
be
can
really
see
interesting.
where it's possible.
I'm going to
that
throw a
they would.
curveball in here. What was I going to say? What about self-hypnosis? Right, because none of us have spoken about this. We can all hypnotize ourselves without even realizing that we're doing it. So if we go into a deep sleep or a deep sense of relaxation, that we're hypnotizing ourselves without realizing it, could we put ourselves in these other places, have those experiences, and then come back out of this induced hypnosis and think, oh, wow, I've just astro traveled? Do you think that that's something that could be quite possible?
You mean pretty much hypnotizing yourself into astral traveling?
Yeah.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's almost like the same what fighters use with the chi. If any of you ever follow like martial arts, you know, a lot of martial artists get into that sense of calmness, and they say it's the chi that they use to like strengthen their body. I mean, it's almost the same concept. It's just a form of meditation that
Mm.
mind over matter.
What do you think, Nettie?
Yeah, I think you could. I think you could actually convince yourself. I really do.
What about you, William? What do you think about that thought?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you have to be asleep or in a deep meditative state to go there, though. I mean, you can just say, this is where I want to go.
Mm.
Yeah, it's weird that, because I was travelling on a tram once, and you know, you sort of just float off into, you're not there, are you? Somewhere else. And I found myself walking up the steps of my own house, my old flat, opening the door and seeing somebody there that had passed on smiling at me, and I was on the tram. But it can be, when you think about it, that can be a bit dangerous, because I mean, say you did it when you was just driving or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's more the mediumship side of it coming through, isn't it? It's controlling it. It's learning to flick it on and off when you're ready to do it, I suppose. But like William, he does it all the time anyway. But he's trained himself. Right. I mean, how many years has it been, William?
Oh, I've been working on for about 50, give or take. I'm old.
You're not that old.
Late teens. And I've been lucky. I stumbled into some interesting people that had some good things to say, and mostly just other people following a path. You know, and we were self-guided, and then mostly since then just following my guides inside and meditation and different things and going with it.
Can I just say, I had an out-of-body experience, and I'm going to tell you something quite personal. It was a long time ago, and I was just coming out of a relationship that was quite violent and aggressive, and it was when I was able to get away from this person, and I was very young. I took myself off to bed, cried myself to sleep like us ladies do. And I remembered feeling or dreaming that I was very, very light. And I could feel myself rising. And I opened my eyes and I could see the ceiling getting closer and closer. But I was face up to the ceiling. I then hit the ceiling and my face was being pressed against it. I had no control. It's like I was being pushed to the ceiling and it hurt. and I managed to turn myself over, and I saw myself laying in my bed fast asleep. And then I don't remember anything else. In the morning, my face and my chin all under there was hurting where I was being pressed against the ceiling. So it's funny. I had this out of body experience because of something traumatic happening in my life. But I felt that pain of being on the ceiling. And when I woke up and I was conscious about it, about what happened and thinking about it, I still had that pain on my face. And I can't explain it. I just think that because I had this traumatic experience, I had that out of body experience.
Do you think that could have been something else?
Like,
Like a lot of people with abductions have said exactly
ooh,
the same thing.
what? Really?
Yeah,
Well, I was
the
also
feeling
wondering
like they're
if it
being
could.
pulled out, and then usually they just kind of warp through their walls, and
Oh
then
no, I
nothing.
didn't go through it.
Well, I also wonder if it could be the leftover tension and such from the muscles of going through that experience while you were sleeping.
I don't know. I put it down to this traumatic time that I was having, and that was the way, I suppose, psychologically that I was dealing with it. And I don't know. I have no answer for it.
That's interesting.
Very.
And I didn't know
We,
that was something with abductions too.
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Usually it's the grays. Usually there's a light, but it's usually the later stories too that
Oh
like
wow.
prior to the 80s, yeah, and then they just kind of they see a light and then they get pulled through their house. It's usually they can't feel themselves when they feel the same way that there's their light and they're rising up into the air.
I didn't see any light. It was just like darkness, and I felt myself rising.
Yeah.
Ooh, or maybe I missed a chance of being abducted by aliens.
Well, I could also see where you're rising and you the physical has stopped you. You haven't gone any further, and just kind of that bump transfers to the physical body as well. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a physiologist. I can't say if that's possible, but it makes sense to me that it could. But
I'm going to be cheeky, William. I missed out on a good probe in there.
I won't say a thing. I'll behave.
Well, we got some things come up in the chat. So, hi, Kelly. Eric says, I would love to hook up with someone trying to astral project on a brain scan.
Haven't they done that? I mean, because so many of these things they've experimented with, the CIA, the government. I mean,
oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nicola hasn't done it for years. Well, if you take it up, Nicola, you're always welcome to astral project here, and I'll put the kettle on. Do you know, I wonder if you could do that, astral project to somebody's house, and then somebody like being in deep meditation could connect with them and have conversations and then make them a cup of tea. And
that's literally what it sounded like the Rosicrucians do, and then they teach you stuff through that dream world.
Well, with whatever you want to call it, I mean, the experiments I've worked with, people could hear my voice a little bit. They could feel me play with their hair or touch them on the shoulder, things like that. And
if I do it, I'd go over to see William and I'd pinch him. William, I'm here. You'd know it was me. You say, Vivian,
that's right.
Pee off. Tim's
Might try it tonight. Go over to Bryce and give him a good kick.
Yeah, do it. I've been studying the subject and watched a few podcasts. Some people think when you dream, you are astral projecting. I'd love to know what you all think. I know some dreams are very real. Ooh, good question.
Yeah, it's interesting that, because
I think
I've
so.
had dreams where I've been to the same place quite a few times, and I didn't know the people there, but I ended up at the same place every single time.
I did a diploma on dream analysis alongside a spiritualist church I was working towards. And I think dreaming is completely different from astral projecting. I personally think that dreaming is your subconscious talking to you to tell you something. So your dreams all mean something. For example, if you dream that your teeth all fall out, that has a meaning. If you dream that you're falling, they say you never hit the bottom. If you hit the bottom, you die. Well, actually, that's not true. But the very fact that you're dreaming of falling, that's got meaning to it. And it's all to do with what's going on in your life at that particular time. So the dream states, they can alter, and you can have conversations with spirit, and you can have healing from spirit as well when you're in that dream state, because you're not likely to interfere with them. So there are varying levels of this dream state. I don't believe that you are purposely astral projecting just because you're dreaming. That's what I think.
It's interesting. I think it's possible. I don't know that it's the usual. But again, I think it might even depend on each individual. We're also different, and how we do things is different, and our own psychic makeup is different. And again, I don't have enough information to make any kind of an expert analysis of this or statement. But I
it
could
says
see
like
where
here,
it could be possible.
Bri thinks that OBE, out of body experience, is involuntary. So if you're dreaming and you're doing that, again, that's involuntary, isn't it? It's not astral projecting.
Yeah.
This is a good topic, don't you think, guys?
Yeah. It is. It's a very interesting one, isn't it?
Bri's done it, achieved it through chakras and meditation.
See, that's trouble for me. If I do meditation, I'd get to the end. I fall asleep.
Thank you. Gotta have the little rabbit.
Flashing bunny's getting all the attention. Oh dear. Bri says it's not easy.
No.
Eric says he does all those steps, but he still can't do it.
Can't do it. Might have some blocks there.
Yeah, distraction is the enemy.
Well, and I think we can get so caught up in the technique or the steps and focusing on that we block our ability to do things.
Yeah.
It's the same thing teaching mediumship. It's like, no, you're trying too hard. You've got to allow, and you've got to clear the way for it sometimes, but you can't pull it. You can't push.
I think Josh's voice is quite nice, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, rude.
I know, that's what I thought. He opens his third eye even though he's been told not to before he goes to sleep. What about the rest of them then, Eric? Or is he just being rude? Is he talking about another third eye?
We hope not.
Poor Rita.
Oh, jeez.
How you did? Yeah, you did it. And did you do it over and over? Well,
I'd love to have a go at doing it again, but I just can't do it.
I end up going into trance if I keep doing it over and over and over. Well, I do trance mediumship anyway, but yeah, that's not the story. Talking about abductions again.
What was that about?
If aliens abduct Eric, they can keep him.
Rita might go for that.
Maybe they push you here.
Probing. It depends where they're putting that probe, doesn't it? You might not want to stay when they start probing you.
No, he'd come back with that surprised look on his face, like that. Yeah.
Oh dear. The astral projection is the state of leaving the body, and to use your etheric body to move. No one will kidnap you. How do we know?
Right.
How do we know?
I lucid dream all the time.
Hi, Vaughn.
Move
Good evening.
Rita's laughing.
on.
Rita, get a book and just slap him around the head with it when he's done doing his lucid dreaming, i.e. daydreaming when he should be doing some jobs.
Yeah, Josh, Rita is Eric's wife.
I know, they live right by me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know that I didn't realize you were neighbors. Okay.
Yeah. So, out of body. I've heard and read and seen lots of things in films. There's been lots of films. I can't name one off the top of my head where somebody's gone in for an operation. They've been put to sleep. They've been opened up. Operation's taken place. Out of body experience happens, and somebody is floating up on the ceiling, looking down at the operation actually taking place, and they can see their own insides. Have you heard about this sort of thing before?
Yeah, there's a movie. The guy who played Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker, played him in it. I always thought it was just something with the amnesia not working.
Yeah? Yeah? What do you think about that, Nettie?
Well, there's been lots of accounts of it, haven't there? And they all seem to come back with the same thing. So I think it is. Yeah, I think it's so.
William, do you think near-death experiences, where they've sort of gone somewhere and then come back, do you think that is a part of out of body, or whether they're actually having this death and then not going anywhere and coming back?
The cases that I've known about through people I know, if it's a commercial program, I'll say that it could be true. There's a good chance it's hyped, if not totally false, because it's all about money, not about truth. So I take it. I need more solid than that, or solid proof. But I know people who have had experiences, or their parents have had experiences, and they seem to have been clinically dead on the table, and have left and have gotten instruction. Often they've been, in one case, a friend's mother had a few instances of this, and each time the same woman kept saying, "I told you it's not your time yet. You need to go back." And this started when she was a pretty young girl. And, they talk about the feeling of being over on, we say the other side, but it's not really.
We don't know if it is,
simple.
yeah.
We don't, yeah, it's hard to describe it. And then they come back. And I've heard this multiple times from people. I've read about it from psychologists a bit. That doesn't mean that they're not, it doesn't mean they're totally accurate or know what they're talking about. But I certainly think that at least part of the time, it's true that we can actually leave and go someplace
Yeah.
and then come back. And it might be a protection mechanism. It could be just our normal, oh, the body's dead, time to hit the road response. I mean, there could be so many different things that are part of that. And those are questions I don't have an answer to
Good night,
or a
Sarah.
theory about.
Right, Vaughn says, my husband had an OBE after being hit by a lorry. He said he didn't die. He just watched everything that was happening, looking down.
I think that's different, though, than a near-death experience.
Oh, sorry, Eric. That's Andy. He's being a noisy git.
Hey, be nice to Andy. He brings you coffee or tea.
That wasn't here.
No, that was
That's-
at mine. Door squeaking.
Can I just say that Netflix had a series called Behind Her Eyes, utilised the technique as a major aspect of its plot, where multiple characters have mastered the art, yet astral projection is not just another creation of Marvel, Maestro, Stan Lee or Netflix producers. It's a spiritual practice with a long, long history. And they reckon that between 8 and 20% of people claim to have something like an out-of-body experience at some point in their lives. When you think 8 to 20%, that's still quite a lot of people, isn't it? Not as much as maybe way back, but still a lot.
I did a few interviews actually with people with out-of-body experiences. One guy was in New York and got hit by a taxi, and he actually said aliens came and like held him this like above his body, and were like, "You're gonna be really hurt. This is what's happening. You're having a spiritual awakening right now. We're related to you in a sense, and we're here to hold you to watch what's just happening. We're gonna take your pain." And then he woke up in the hospital like days later.
Wow.
And he like completely changed his life around and does like Reiki and like healing now.
Wow. Now, were they aliens or were they more like a spiritual figure that might have been there
They were
to protect
Palladians.
him? Okay.
This is what he described. Very large blonde beings in like blue spandex suits.
Okay.
When I had mine, that totally changed my perception of everything. It really did. Because I was looking at myself and all of a sudden a woman turned up at the side. And she frightened me that much that when I shot back in. And it's just amazing, to be honest with you.
There's something else that I read here that I come across, which I thought was quite interesting. Now, bearing in mind what I said earlier, there's no science and nobody can prove anything otherwise. But it was written that these out-of-body experiences, or OBEs, are visual hallucinatory experiences that the individual sees in his or own physical body placed in external visual space, like a reflection in the mirror. Many psychiatric disorders, altered psychological states, brain dysfunction, and psychoactive substances and pharmacological agents are reportedly associated with these phenomena. So, if you suffer with any of those, chances are you're going to have one, or you're taking any drugs or medicines, you could still have one. But what I have to say is, when I work with my guide, he is First Nation Indian, and he did use substances to put himself in an altered state to receive messages from the ancestors. And that's how they used to work back then. And it was great for them. So I don't think that these doctors or psychiatrists or whatever you want to call them can turn around and say, well, yeah, you're on drugs, so you can't count for that. You know, I really don't. I can't.
some of the First Nation stories where they learn these techniques. A lot of it, they say it came from the Moonai people and the Star Brothers, or the
Yep.
brothers from under the ground taught us this magic.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, like,
Well, if
Yeah.
you look back throughout history, pretty much anything from extreme fasting, which creates hallucinations, to sweat lodge, would create hallucinations, to taking psychedelics of some sort.
I'm AJ.
In my opinion, you just don't have to do any of that. You can go there without
Hello.
it, and not go to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also know more about what you're getting. There's always a danger when you take any kind of a product that comes directly from nature, because you don't know the strengths, you don't know the purities, you don't know what else might be contaminating it. If you have a pharmacy grade from a reliable pharmacy, not the lab next door, then because we do that in my state now.
William's absolutely right, especially with the fentanyl problem going around with the United
Yeah.
States. I don't know if it's going in Europe, but it's horrible right now here.
It is. People are dropping like flies, and they're not
Yes.
even. They're not addicted to anything. Even that's a one-time deal where they think they've got an oxy or whatever. But there's also. Oh, what was it I was going to say?
There's literally psychos going around putting in people's drinks in the bars.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things. Oh, I kind of remember now too was. We in my state where it's legal to work with psilocybin as mental health therapy, especially for depression. The Veterans Administration is working with it for PTSD in very small, controlled amounts and controlled settings with experts. It costs, insurance doesn't cover it yet, so it costs a fortune. But, a setting like that, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And
I
heard.
I'm not.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I heard in Canada that they're doing testing with DMT and peyote, and they're having like reversed effects with fentanyl and opiate addicts. It's like night and day, and it's like almost immediate. They take this, they have this trip, and they all do it together, and then counselors come and talk to them, and they want like nothing to do with any opiates afterwards. It like reprograms the brain, and it's only like a couple of sessions.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I want to just mention what Woo Riders DG says, that I was at a sweat tent ceremony in North Carolina back in 2007. It was brutal. I don't recommend. I don't think I'll be able to sit still for as long as that you're supposed to be honest.
My understanding of those ceremonies, they are brutal.
Yeah. Vaughn says, she's come up with a really good point, actually. She says, I wonder how many people have experienced an OBE and the medics have not questioned their medication or causation. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I wasn't on any medication apart from the pill.
No, me neither.
Yeah, and I think mine was through trauma. It was literally through trauma that I had mine.
But you can also have, for those of you that are investigators, one of the questions always is with clients is, what kind of medications do you take and what kind of recreational? Do any of them cause hallucinations? Do you have a carbon monoxide leak? Or in the part of the world I'm from, radon's an issue a lot of times. And all of those things can create hallucinations that seem like exactly what we're talking about, that's real and natural, but this is a fake thing. It's a sign of toxicity
Yeah.
instead of a sign of health. So I think all of those questions need to be looked at.
Oh, yeah.
I find that, I mean, we touched on it just briefly, that the NDE thing, William and I had a mutual friend that died in a car crash, and he actually died on the way to hospital. Got him into hospital, declared dead. He was clinically dead for 15 minutes. They unhooked him off of everything and put him on a trolley, and they were wheeling him down. The porter was wheeling him down to the morgue when he sat up, and he looked at the porter. I mean, he said he was butt naked underneath the cover that they put over him. And he sat up and he looked at the porter and he said, the first words were, "Who the fuck are you?" Because he didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
And the porter absolutely shit himself and
Oh, yeah.
left the trolley and ran. But it was during that time, in those 15 minutes, we were questioning him about, what did you see? What did you experience? Where did you go? Did you see anything nice? What can you tell us? And he said, "I didn't see anything." I said, "What do you mean you saw nothing?" And he said, "No, I saw nothing. It was pitch black." I said, "Well, you weren't in a tunnel with a white light in the distance?" He went, "Nope." He said, "It was pitch black. I saw nothing." He said, "And I felt my sister's hand in my hand, and she said, 'Come with me,' basically, and she brought him back. But he was in this darkness, in nothing, which I found
Oh,
quite astonishing, because he's the only one that I've ever heard saying it was pitch black. There was nothing. There was no white lights. There was nothing at the end of a tunnel. It was just nothing.
Of course, considering who it was, leave it to him to be different than everybody else.
Well, I felt sorry for the porter, to be honest, taking him to the...
he's not that anymore.
I bet he needed to change his underwear. That's all I know, because it's just unreal. You know, can you imagine doing your job and that happens, and he's actually
He came back to life.
talking to you
First
like...
round last. Not
Well,
gone
it
back
also
after that, no.
it makes me a bit afraid of how thorough the medical system is, that in this day and age, people can still be misdiagnosed that way.
Yeah.
I live in a part of the world where they find coffins with scratch marks on the lids, because in the 1800s they didn't know as well how to check
The
to
bell.
make sure people were dead yet.
Yeah. You used to put bells in the coffins there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell. That's where that came from.
Yeah.
The graveyard shift. It was the people sitting.
Oh, I'll
in the
never look at
graveyard
that show
listening to
again the
bells.
same.
I'm sorry.
Said I'll never look at that show again the same.
Yeah.
Didn't they put windows in some European ones? They put windows in the coffin so you could look down at the dead and make sure that they really were dead.
Yeah, we had that in quite a few here too.
Yeah.
Especially if you had enough money. Partly it was there was no embalming, and the coffin could be sitting in the parlor for a week or two, waiting for everybody to gather. So you want that sucker sealed. That's also why flowers were brought.
Yes.
And
Oh, that
so
makes
many
sense.
things. But I think in part you could see, there's breath here after all. But it's also, you get to see the deceased without smelling the deceased. Sorry to be a little...
At least we got rid of that one tradition where we would get one last family picture.
Oh.
Yeah, but I get it.
That would be cool if we did that.
That was, the reason made a lot of sense. It was, these people, photography was fairly new. It was very expensive. There were no pictures of the people until they died. And so the only way they could have a picture of that person for their memory was a fresh corpse one. Some of them were pretty lifelike.
Yeah.
I've seen them, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's a little gruesome, but people have pictures nowadays, so
There's
Well,
that.
I'm going to throw
There's that
curve.
one. Oh, wait. There's that one tribe, I believe it's in Asia, where they always bury their dead once a year, and they have like a big party with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Change their
Dancing with the
clothes.
Dead. Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. Because
So,
I think
guys,
that some of that was done in Mesolithic tombs too. Bring
Guys,
the
I'm just
relics
gonna
out
throw-
for certain events.
I'm going to throw a quick curveball in here because we're coming to the end of the show. But before we finish, each and every one of you, I want you to answer this question, starting with Nettie. For the ghost hunter out there, do you think that there could be a chance that these shadow man or shadow women or these apparitions that we could be seeing, do you think that there could be a chance there are people that are coming in and astral projecting? Your thoughts?
Oh, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Oh, the possibility. Yeah, is this what you're seeing? Yeah. Absolutely.
William, what do you think?
I think it's possible, but I don't think it's the majority of them.
Josh?
I honestly want to think when it comes to shadow people, this is something I've discussed with a bunch of my friends, and what we think, this is coming from the gamer side of us, you're seeing something you can't comprehend. It's almost like Smash Brothers when you get that new character, but it's not unlocked yet, so it's just the black silhouette.
Yeah. I think there's this chance we are being visited, not necessarily by spirits. I know William likes to call them entities because we don't know what they are. They could be astral projected. They could be from another dimension. It could be anything. It could be our dead relatives coming back to us. So it's quite an interesting subject. We could go on for hours and hours with this.
Yeah.
But we are coming to the end. But before we do, for next week's subject, we need to pick from the jar of doom. Mine's not as flash as Eric's, but Josh, I want you to tell me when to stop.
No.
Right. Okay, I've got a few here. So from what I grab, I want you to pick number 1 or number 2.
Number 2.
Okay. So next week's discussion, are you listening, Eric? Is hauntings of the underground. So not trains, underground trains. We're just talking about the underground, and this is worldwide.
Now, do you mean like cave systems, or
Yeah.
do you mean like
Tunnels
cities
and
built in tunnels, or
tunnels and mines and
You're going to get into the missing 411 too?
Well, we got another one to pick because the week after Eric is doing 2 on the bounce. So, William, will you tell me when to stop?
stop?
All over the place. Number 1, number 2, number 3,
3,
number 4, or number 5?
3.
3 it is. So the week after, Eric, if you're watching, are some countries more haunted than others? Discuss.
That's a good one.
we're just keeping Eric busy.
Yeah.
So he
Who
knows
thought that one? Who thought that one up?
that was me, actually.
Okay. I have never thought of that.
No.
So we are, as hosts, we're going to be busy this week with our shows. So tomorrow night, join me if you can at 8 o'clock on the Simply Spooky Network, where Dan and Eric and myself are interviewing an ordained priest. called Alan Cox. So he works under the esoteric. I know he's under Bishop Dave Parry, who actually ordained him. So it's he's a good friend. We haven't spoken to him for a long time. So we have got Alan Cox on the show tomorrow at 8:00. And then Thursday, I think the Weird Room is going on as normal at 8:00. I'm not sure what they're talking about. I haven't seen any posters and they've not let on what they're doing, but the Weird Room are talking about all sorts of things weird and wonderful. Nettie, you've got Friday, haven't you?
Yeah, Freaky Friday. We've got an interview with Laurie Schaefer.
Nice.
And then Sunday, we're doing Dracula and Vampire Law.
Nice. William, what's going on with you? Any shows this week or is it next week? Or
It's this Saturday. And I'm rethinking this one because I wasn't clear to my guest exactly. Anyway, totally my fault, misunderstanding. And he and his husband are going to be in the middle of the Caribbean and
Nice.
Saturday, not my show. So I'm looking, and actually I've got an idea that just came up during this show. So, but at this point, yes, the show will
watch
be
this
on.
space. Yes.
Yeah.
And then Josh, you've got some shows going on. Do you want to tell us about them?
Yeah, Thursday I'm going to be interviewing Anthony Kenny Ross. He's a former infantryman, captain with the U.S. Army, retired, and a biologist who has a bunch of extraterrestrial and UFO experience. He also has a little bit of tab where he's trying to push free energy in the U.S.
That's good.
Yeah.
And Dark Mirror on Monday?
Yep. It's just going to be me and Mark. Wayne is going to be on vacation in Greece. You lucky bastard.
Where is he going to be? You know, the area around Athens right now is on fire.
I don't know.
I know people real close to that. They keep waiting to see if they have to evacuate.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah. It's a major fire there.
Yeah, it's quite bad.
One of my favourite places is that as well, Athens.
Yeah.
Aww.
So
but
hopefully
we got lots going on. We got lots going on. And Wayne, whatever you're doing, if you're watching, Wayne, just stay safe and look after yourself and your family, please.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We want you back in one piece.
I don't think they left yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to end the show here because we've been going an hour. And I know that everyone's running busy lives and they got things to do. But if you can always catch this on Catch Up or on YouTube, we never take any of the shows down. You can find them on the Things Network and on the Simply Spooky Network as well. So yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed tonight. Have you enjoyed it, William?
Yeah, I have. This is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really interesting. Yeah.
And it's
and
nice.
Josh?
It's great to meet Josh. And Nettie,
nice meeting you too.
And we have Josh now, so we're not letting him go.
Uh-oh.
You don't know what you're in for.
We don't mind you, Josh. We know that everyone's busy, so but catch next week where we have. I'll tell you who will be on next week with Eric. I have no idea. I've lost my sheet. Somebody somewhere around. Eric will know anyway. But there will be more presenters next week discussing the hauntings of the underground. So that will be a good one. Hope you can join us next week as well. But in the meantime, I'm going to wish everybody in the chat a very pleasant evening, or day or morning, wherever you are in the world. And I just want to say, take care of one another and just stay safe. Nettie, do you want to say anything? Last words?
No, just thank you for everyone coming on and watching.
William?
Thank you all so much for watching, and explore the world that isn't so easily seen with our normal 5 senses.
Josh, you've got definite last words.